Am I the person who will solve this problem? Do I really have a higher purpose or a greater inspiration related to this? Is this really the problem that makes me jump out of bed in the mornings? How did we leave such a beautiful place and go to London? In fact, I believe I carry that paradise and infinite abundance, prosperity, goodness, and beauty within my existence to every area of my life. Negative and positive thoughts exist equally in our minds, and understanding that they neutralize each other is very valuable. If we see a problem in what we are looking at, that problem primarily belongs to us. We see the problem in our own consciousness. There is no problem in the world. If you want abundance, prosperity, goodness, health, beauty, happiness, and peace in your life, I am making a bit of an intuitive investment. In fact, I am somewhat different from startup investors. I have never deviated from my path. My path has never changed. I have been progressing in the same direction for 25 years.
First of all, thank you for hosting us in your home in Urla. This is a very pleasant place, but I guess you spend most of your time in London. You have achieved very successful projects in Turkey, and you are still continuing. How did you make the decision to move to London, and what was the reason?
Yes, welcome. I used to spend much more time here many years ago. Of course, there was a time when we were in Turkey, living in Istanbul, and even a period when we tried to live in Urla for a few years, but due to my intense work schedule, we moved back to Istanbul. Urla is a very pleasant place, especially in the area where we are located. There are 5 to 6 Michelin star restaurants within a radius of 1.5 to 2 kilometers. There are about 12 very special vineyards. We are here in Urla on the road, known as the wine route. So we are in a place where the most famous wineries in Urla are located, with very enjoyable venues, delightful restaurants, and where very quality people live. In fact, we came here many years ago, before there were such restaurants, before Urla became a lively place, and when there were hardly any restaurants or wine houses. I actually think that this place may have become more vibrant after we arrived. I do have some doubts about this, because wherever we go, I can say that we bring abundance and prosperity as a family, and we develop that place within a certain period. That's why I think we have had some impact as well. After we settled here, this place became very trendy and popular, so I believe it is currently one of the most special places in Turkey. That's why I love coming here and spending time during the summer months. I spend time here with both my family and friends, as well as with my children. We all gather here as a family. Since our house here is very spacious and we are a large and crowded family, we have a wonderful time with the kids and grandchildren. We stay here for about 1.5 to 2 months. How did we leave such a beautiful place and go to London? In fact, I am not someone who gets very attached to such places. This is because, thanks to the clarity I have in my consciousness, I have been using the methods that I also explain to my students for many years. As I deepen my own truth every day through meditation, mental exercises, and staying connected with my breath by asking myself quality questions, I believe I carry that paradise and infinite abundance, prosperity, goodness, and beauty of my existence into every area of my life. That's why no matter where I am in the world, I am actually surrounded by environments as beautiful as this place, quality settings, beauties, and goodness. Therefore, it doesn't matter where I am. I think people are most mistaken about this here. Many people think that when they change their location, their way of life will change, or that they will be able to live under better conditions, but that is not the case. Because we carry our consciousness with us wherever we go, and the residues in our consciousness, the unexamined areas in our consciousness, I won't actually call it darkness, but negativity, because negative and positive thoughts exist equally in our minds. Understanding that they neutralize each other is very valuable. As an intention, the areas that are dark in our awareness reflect in our lives. Since we take ourselves wherever we go, and therefore we also take our consciousness, and since we carry our mental level with us, no matter where we go in the world, if our consciousness is not at a good, clear, and high level, we carry the residues and problems from our own consciousness with us. For example, I have many friends and acquaintances who moved to London and then returned to Turkey a few years later, Among them are even famous names who moved to London and took their consciousness there. They say things like, "I'm tired of Turkey, I don't want Turkey anymore, it's such a problematic country," expressing their judgments about the country. However, the problem is actually at the level of the mind, because if we see a problem where we look, that problem primarily belongs to us. We are seeing the problem in our own consciousness. There is no problem in the world. Everything in the world is actually perfect. The consciousness that cannot see the perfection in the world, how everything is balanced and how beautiful it is, creates more problems when it looks at the world with a judgmental perspective that sees problems. As long as there is chaos in our consciousness, we reflect this chaos onto the world and the world becomes more chaotic. And that's why many people, whether famous or not, move to London and suddenly see Turkey as chaotic, view it as problematic, and criticize it, saying that life conditions are tense and bad. However, because they take their consciousness and mindset with them, they carry the same chaos in their minds to London, experiencing new chaos there as well. As a result, many have returned, realizing that this place is not as good as they thought, and that the same chaos exists here too. I am sure that the same applies to those going to America among those going to Europe. As I always tell my students, we carry the level of consciousness we are in to wherever we go. Therefore, if you want prosperity, abundance, blessings, goodness, health, beauty, happiness, and peace in your life, you first need to understand that this is independent of external conditions and has nothing to do with them. The human mind is an extraordinary thing. Our perceptions and thoughts affect how we feel, and consequently they influence our entire lives. In this training, you will improve many thought patterns and habits that make your life difficult, such as procrastination, limiting beliefs, judgments, prejudices, low self-esteem, and emotional burdens, because you will take control of your mind. This training is based on the DeMartini method, developed by human behavior expert Dr. John DeMartini. This method transforms our minds by asking a series of questions that help us go beyond our biases and perceptions, allowing us to see the hidden order in daily chaos. The DeMartini method is a technique that neutralizes individual emotional burdens, balances mental and physical responses, opens the heart, and clears the mind. One of the strongest, most effective, and most efficient transformation methods we have developed to date. My peace, my tranquility, the calmness within my life, how smoothly or not my life flows, whether there are opportunities in my life, and the beauties in my life are all related to my level of consciousness. That is why I always tell my students the same thing. First, work on your consciousness. You take yourself everywhere. It reflects outward. The world is a huge mirror. When I look at all the esoteric teachings, they all say the same thing. The world is a huge mirror. You are constantly reflecting yourself. As long as you do not change, the world does not change. That's why I actually moved to London for this reason. As you just mentioned, my life in Turkey was also very beautiful, and I am a successful person in Turkey. I have projects that I have been working on for a long time. I still have projects that I am continuing in Turkey. Similarly, I have projects that I am continuing in London, New York, and Europe. I see myself a bit as a global citizen, so it doesn't really matter where I live. I can live anywhere in the world. I feel like the whole world is my home. So I don't really have much to say to you about why I moved to London. It just happened that way, and I received inner guidance regarding it. I stepped into London because it was time for me to continue my journey as an instructor who has a say internationally, especially in Irana, regarding the services I want to provide related to the technological platforms I aim to establish. Actually, I went there for the position of assistant director at a graduate school of behavioral sciences in America. On one hand, I established my own companies. I was already continuing my training there. You will remember that before the pandemic, especially during the times when there were very lively trainings, I had trainings and camps in a different city of the world every month or even every 2 weeks in another city. Miracle courses were organized in 21 or 22 cities around the world until today. 1 week I was in Switzerland, the next week I was in America, and the following week I was in Germany. Many of my students will remember that after the pandemic, I started to feel a certain fatigue during that period. Rather than just fatigue, I could also use words like exhaustion or weariness, but more than that, I think it's a bit of saturation. For 20 years, I have continuously trained over 2,000 breath coaches in various courses and breath coaching trainings. I have also trained just as many instructors. I have had over 40,000 students. I have conducted trainings and given speeches in almost all top-level companies in Turkey. During webinars, seminars, and especially live seminars, I spent 20 years of my life between the ages of 25 and 45. Constantly active on stage, giving talks, providing training, and organizing camps. And naturally, after spending 20 years this way, a person reaches a certain level of fulfillment, and during the period of the pandemic, I actually reached such a fulfillment, a process where you say, okay, what's next? So now what? What is the next step? What do I want to do? This coincided exactly with the period when I started to get involved with startups. That's when I began to invest in startups. On one hand, my trainings in England, Europe, and America started to increase. I began conducting online trainings and creating online platforms. Just at that time, the pandemic occurred, which was a very painful period for the world, with many deaths and various experiences. However, for me, it was a very beautiful period internally because I really needed to close off and pause. I had been working very actively, intensely, and constantly traveling, so this situation had already come to me. Interestingly, the pandemic coincided with the year I moved to London, along with our decision to relocate there. On one hand, my little girl loves London very much. She has close friends there. She wants to go there, and especially, she puts some pressure on us regarding this. My eldest daughter, starting to study in America at that time, was certainly influential. So she is going to America. I thought we should be close. Let's be in England. My little girl already wants to go to England. On the other hand, I am being offered the position of vice president responsible for all of Europe at a graduate school of behavioral sciences in America. On the other hand, while the Breath Conditioning Federation continues in Turkey, it is also being established in America, and we are continuing with our activities there as well. At that time, I was also offered a representative role at the International Breath Foundation. Turkey and the European representation started to offer me a number of projects related to Europe, one after another. After that, when I received offers related to consulting in behavioral sciences from several companies, and as offers started pouring in for me to be a speaker in England and to provide training related to that, all these signs pointed us towards England. And after moving to England, there was the pandemic process, as you all know. It felt very good for me as well. I cancelled all my live trainings and turned inward like this. It was during that period that I started investing in startups and became interested in the startup world. And I would particularly call it an emotional investment, but it's not entirely emotional. I make a somewhat intuitive investment. In fact, I am a bit different from typical startup investors. Because I know people very well, I am different from classic startup investors. As an angel investor, I understand people deeply. Being a behavioral scientist, I believe I have spent 25 years of my life scientifically studying people, and now I occasionally chat with my little daughter. Well, Mom, whenever I look at such people, I always think about what they are thinking and what they are feeling. I said, oh, this is just like me. I was like that too, because since my childhood I have enjoyed observing, analyzing, and questioning human behavior from the outside. What made them behave that way? What was the motivation behind that behavior? What kind of thought pattern lies beneath that behavior? What thought system and form drives him to act that way? I was always a curious child wondering why addictions happen. In fact, I am a born behavioral scientist, meaning I am a natural behavior researcher. I observe human behavior in my free time. I read human behavior. I watch human behavior. I am examining how we can achieve different results in our lives by changing our behaviors. And because I have always done this throughout my 25 years of life, and because I know people very well as an angel investor, when I see an entrepreneur or a manager, I can also understand the motivation behind their behaviors very well. And I know that successful and sustainable companies and businesses can only be achieved by entrepreneurs who have clear goals and serve a purpose greater than themselves. Well, as many of you know, I also know what the next question will be, so which question will come? As a trainer who has been doing the same job for 25 years, serving humanity and trying to change human lives, I have never deviated from my path of helping what we call next-level humans reach the next level of humanity. My path has never changed. I have been progressing in the same direction for 25 years. I serve people in various ways. I create projects that will enable progress in every area of their lives. I develop products, I offer training, and I organize camps. But I continue with the same purpose. Now, if a person's purpose is clear, and they have a greater purpose beyond themselves, that upper point referred to as telos in Greek mythology, transcends the capacity of human divinization and becomes unstoppable. At that point, it creates what we call sustainable and meaningful work, and that meaningful work continues to grow. So, sometimes I tell myself that I am an angel investor, a startup investor, but rather than focusing on startups that will grow very quickly in 5 or 6 years, I actually choose entrepreneurs who will continue to grow and ensure that the money I invest will also grow. Because if an entrepreneur has a purpose greater than themselves, they will continue on their path tirelessly no matter what happens. Whether they fall or get back up, fall again and get back up. Even if they fall 1,000 times, they will rise 1,001 times and keep going. I have always wondered why some people progress easily in life while others are tested with 1,000 problems. And thanks to this curiosity, I started to engage with the methods necessary to live life skillfully at a very young age. I participated in over 200 trainings and worked with significant instructors worldwide. As a result of all this research, I found that successful people apply similar formulas. I created the Markol, Mastery in Business Life Training, one of the most important journeys within the Dinesh Institute. With this information, I have mentored many different individuals, from professional athletes to entrepreneurs, and I have witnessed the rapid rise of all these people I have journeyed with. These trainings have been a journey to my own essence.
One of my biggest complaints is related to starting a new job last September. I used to complain about not having enough work. That has changed. Now I have a very busy schedule.
I have been applying the formulas I teach you in my own life for years, and right now I am experiencing the amazing changes these formulas have created in every area of my life. I love sharing everything I know with you and tracking the results you achieve. When we don't have a higher purpose and only have superficial goals, I see this as a problem in the startup community today. For example, looking at the world, many entrepreneurs who call themselves entrepreneurs observe the problems in the world and say, okay, I will solve this problem. However, as a behavioral scientist who understands humans very well, I know what is necessary for a person to reach their highest capacity and maintain continuity, as well as what is required for a company not to fail and to continue growing. I have a deep understanding of what is needed in an entrepreneur based on both my own experiences and the experiences of my students. Additionally, I have supported many students in the business world in this regard. We will probably discuss this in the upcoming questions, but as someone who knows this, I am well aware that when I don't see him, that project will not move forward. I think in the startup world, entrepreneurs need to ask themselves, okay, there is a problem in the world, but am I the one who will solve this problem? Do I really have a higher purpose or inspiration related to this? Is this truly the issue that makes me jump out of bed in the mornings? Do I genuinely want to solve this problem from the bottom of my heart? Am I not deeply connected to the people who have this problem? Because if we are not genuinely connected to the problem we want to solve, and if we do not truly want to help those who have the problem, even if those people are not making any money, then the business does not grow. And that is why we see that the leaders of all companies that are growing globally, that are quality businesses, and that have been continuing to grow for a long time, have embarked on their journeys with a very deep pain, driven by something in their life stories that has hurt them, something that truly disturbs them. For example, I feel disturbed when I see people who have not lived skillfully since childhood and who waste their potential. I am so uncomfortable that this discomfort drives me to create new projects, launch new products, and develop new trainings every day. And for my part, I am not doing this work just to make money or to have a job. I always tell my students, even if I were not making any money, I would continue to do what I am doing today, because I am committed to those who want to master their craft, who want to grow, and who aspire to be next-level humans seeking to elevate themselves to a higher level. Of course, I discuss these videos in my trainings, but I am not actually creating these videos to get you to come to my trainings. Of course, come to my trainings because you will master there, but even if I weren't making money from this, I would continue to make these videos, or even if this weren't a business, I would keep doing it. So if you can, answer the question of what you would want to do if I were to give you infinite time and infinite money for the rest of your life, then you become unstoppable. Therefore, entrepreneurs who have found their higher purpose, their drive, and the ultimate inspiration that guides them, and have created businesses around it, are truly special individuals and become unstoppable. Those individuals may not increase their business by 10 times, 100 times, or even 5 times in 3 or 5 years. Most of them do grow in the meantime, but perhaps they don't. However, the business continues to grow over 10 or 20 years, and I will certainly receive a return on my investment. This is how I choose startups and investments. Of course, the topic has come a long way, but when it comes to my journey of moving back to England and becoming a British citizen, it was at that point when I started getting involved with startups, moving to England and meeting very successful entrepreneurs there, along with supporting some of those entrepreneurs in the area of self-mastery, and mastery, led me to find myself in the world of startups. Naturally, among my students, there are also those involved in the startup world. For instance, there are successful startups and entrepreneurial ventures that have previously lived in San Francisco and are still living in America, and they encouraged me to also launch a startup. Since you are also investing in startups and since you are part of the ecosystem, you are supporting entrepreneurs and helping us. You have a significant contribution to the growth of these startups because individually, a person's mastery certainly supports the growth of their business. When we discover our life purpose, master our minds, and become capable of managing our thoughts, we progress in the business world as we desire. As many of you know, there are numerous entrepreneurs whom I have supported in this way, helping them grow, expand their businesses, and sell them. With a bit of encouragement and support from them saying, "Come on, you can do it too," I ended up founding a technology company. As that technology company grew, I became more connected to the UK through my investments in other Turkish technology companies, as well as my involvement with entrepreneurs and the tech world. Now, I am also running very nice projects in this field. Perhaps we will touch on them in the upcoming questions.